Hello again, gamers. Welcome back to the Board Game Captain. I'm the Captain.
I'm Lynn.
And today we're going to be talking about and reviewing the Fat Cat expansion to Raccoon Tycoon, as well as talking a little bit about the deluxe edition, if you're able to still find it anywhere, and whether or not you should shell out for it, because it's going to be quite expensive at this time. I was looking around, and it's actually getting hard to find. So before we get started, though, we do want to thank Forbidden Games and the designer Glenn Drover for sending us a copy of this deluxe edition to upgrade our regular edition of Raccoon Tycoon, and also so we could review the Fat Cat expansion. So thank you to you guys. So before we get into this, so what do we got here? We're talking about
a giant box.
A giant box. Indeed.
It's very big.
It is very big. So the deluxe edition here contains everything from the standard edition of Raccoon Tycoon, upgraded components and such, plus the Fat Cat expansion. So for reviewing the Fat Cat expansion, I'm going to pull out the rulebook here, and I'll show some pictures up on the screen of the components as we're discussing them. But we're going to go over all the stuff you get when you just get the Fat Cat expansion if you're not able to get the giant super nice deluxe edition. Okay, so first thing for the Fat Cat expansion is you get 6-player cards to be able to use if you're playing a larger number of players. So you get an extra railroad, which is the Jackrabbit Railroad, which they're adorable. They are really cute. They're also worth a good number of points. You also get you're pointing out, go ahead.
Yeah, you just totally went over the first player starting tokens.
So you get a new first player. So you already had a Raccoon starting token in the original set. The Fat Cat expansion comes with a Fat Cat starting token, which we have the collector's version, which is in full color. I think the regular version is black and white, because I think our original one was black and white from the original set. You get 4 new town cards. The new town cards are to add some more variety to the various sizes of towns. There's now, why don't you talk about this one?
The Wild Railroad? Well, I don't know how those were because I never got one. The Wild Railroad cards.
Well, you saw how they worked.
From across the table.
Okay, and then we've got tons of new buildings. And there's some cool ones in here. There's a coffee roaster, trestle bridge tunnel, which have bonus points for if you can get both of them together. There's new bonus. There's gas lamps. There's electric company. There's a waterworks, which we got some of those out. Those are really cool. Gave you the electric company gave you an extra victory point per town, as does the waterworks. There's the water tower, the railroad station, railroad depot, locomotive factory, which gives you a whole new method of scoring points. The housing construction, which also gives you a whole new method of scoring points. We'll talk about those in a minute. There's the tenements, which you got to use, which you really liked, and the brownstones. Tons of new buildings, and with new mechanics, new ways to score points. So lots of new stuff in here. Okay, so now in addition to those, we have 4 new types of Meeples that are added in that all give you new ways to score points. 2 of which were linked to the new building tiles of the locomotive factory and the housing construction. So for the locomotive factory, it allows you to build locomotive Meeples. You're allowed to put 1 each on a railroad card. If you don't have space, you can also trade it into the bank for $20, but then it goes to the first available railroad card that's yet to be auctioned. If someone gets it, they automatically get that locomotive. And every locomotive is worth 3 points at the end of the game. So that can be a big point boost towards winning. Housing Meeples work exactly the same way, except instead of the locomotive factory, they use the housing construction, and instead of on railroads, they go on towns. So the locomotive Meeples and housing Meeples are an interesting new way to score points. It's a new option. If you get that particular building, you need the particular building to do it. So generally, only one person in the game would have the ability to score locomotive Meeples if the particular building came up, and this, which is the locomotive factory, and the same thing with the housing Meeples as well. Also, unless you're playing a very large player game, it's going to be rare to have more than one of these 2 come out. And you will have games, especially in smaller player counts, where none of them come up. We had a game where none of them came up. But that said, when they do come up, it gives an interesting option. You can alter your strategy to be like, well, I'm just going to get a bunch of railroads, and then I'm going to make each of them worth 3 extra points by keep building locomotives on them. And also, when you're full up, you can still trade it in for $20, which is actually a sizable amount of money. Now, the next thing is, and why don't you talk more about this, the animal meeples and the tycoon meeples.
So with the animal meeples, you can trade in 2 wheat for an animal meeple.
And you do it during...
Production?
Yes.
Price
it is
production action.
That's it. I couldn't remember the name either.
So it's so if you have 2 wheat, or you acquire 2 wheat, you can trade it in for an animal meeple, and then you put it on your board, and each animal meeple is worth more points at the end.
Yeah, the more you get, so like 1 is worth 2, 2 of them are worth 5, 3 of them are worth 9. If you have 4, they're worth 14, and if you can get 5, they're worth 20 points.
And it's the same thing with the tycoon meeples, except you need to trade in 3 luxury.
Yes.
For a tycoon meeple, and he's worth a little bit more.
Yeah, it's what, 3, 7, 12, 18, and 25.
But I like them because I always found that the wheat and the luxury weren't really good for much.
So you liked that there was an alternate way to use those?
They always seemed the least useful of the commodities.
And then it was a cool extra use for those particular commodities, and it was a cool extra way to get points. And then there was like, you had a building you had gotten.
It was the tenements where it counted as an animal meeple.
Right, so then you had wound up with so you get a number of animal meeples equal to the number of people playing plus 2. So when we're playing a 2-player game of this, we only had 4 animal meeples and 4 tycoon meeples available. But Lynn got 3 of the animal meeples and the tenement, so it counted as 4. So you had 14 points just off your animal meeples, which that's a lot of points. That can really help swing the game. Granted, I had a whole bunch of tycoon meeples, so I swung it back in the other direction. Swang it. That's a word now. So okay, the next thing in here, and this is just a cute thing. So there's an alternate set of art cards for both the railroads and for the towns. So apparently, Glenn Drover's daughter, Emma Drover, had done artwork for the prototype of Raccoon Tycoon when she was only 12 years old. And I have to say, when she was 12 years old, she was quite a talented artist for 12, because actually the artwork she did is really good. And they thought it'd be fun in the expansion to include alternate art cards of her original artwork, which actually, don't get me wrong, the professional art done obviously is professional art, and this is obviously kids art. It has a charm to it.
I think it'll be like if you play with like younger kids.
Oh yeah,
they might appreciate the drawing more than the
professional art, and that is kind of cool. Also, it's nice to have like a variety. Like now you have the option, you could play with either or, and that's just, it doesn't add content to the game, but it adds a choice, it adds an option, and that's kind of cool. Next, and this was something I think you should talk about because you really enjoyed the ability on this,
you get privacy screens, and each privacy screen has an animal on it, and the animal has a special power.
Yeah, so it's a one-use only asymmetrical player power, and there's a bunch. There's one.
Yeah,
how many are there? 7. There's 7 different asymmetrical player powers.
Yeah.
So they're all quite different. Like there are some where it's like it's better for larger games, and some where it doesn't really matter. But they all have interesting things. So you were a fan of.
I used the rabbit.
Which he automatically makes you go first.
The rabbit makes you first player, and then you start with 4 unique commodities instead of just one that first player normally gets.
Which that's pretty huge, actually. That was it's really cool because you already had a whole bunch of commodities in your stockpile, and got to go first, which is really great. And then the Raccoon Tycoon allows you to get $8, $8 extra dollars to start with. The Top Dog allows you to buy a building for half price once. The Skunk Work allows you to immediately upgrade your one of your B building tiles to the other side for free. There's a lot of cool abilities in here. The fat cat allows you to tax other players. The sly fox allows you to use someone else's building ability as if it was your own once. And the big bear allows you to move one commodity to the bottom value and then collect $5. That's a good way to like mess someone else up. These are fun. I think the asymmetrical player powers, even though they're only one use only, it's not a reoccurring power. But just it adds this one extra little element that's really kind of cool for your game. I got a kick out of this too. I was the Skunk Works in our game we were playing of this, and I thought it was a really cool thing to be able to do. Definitely really fun. Also, quick note, the privacy shields have nice cheat sheets on the back.
Oh yeah,
of them.
it has the list of actions, which was really handy.
Yeah, very handy because the basic game does not have a bunch of cheat sheets to go around. So having the cheat sheets on the back of the privacy screen was really great because that provided a nice upgrade to the game in general because it gave you cheat sheets for everybody. So next we had some replacements of the building tiles that you use specifically when playing with the expansion. There's a replacement to the bank, the rail baron, and the governor's mansion. They alter the way they work slightly to fit in better with the expansion. Not a whole lot to talk about there. And we have a score pad, which is nice because there's a lot more ways to score now.
Yeah.
It really helps you like to remind, right? I mean, remind you of all the things that you should do when scoring in Raccoon Tycoon with the Fat Cat expansion. So, Lynn, do you have any negatives you want to talk about with the Fat Cat expansion?
The only thing is, get one of the boards.
Oh, sure.
The only thing is, I don't really understand why these are here, because you just trade them into the bank and then you put your animal meeple there. This is just placeholders, like you put them here because you only have one wheat and you don't want to accidentally use it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's the only thing I could think of. Or if you have like one luxury and you're like, ooh, I really want
to remember to
Tycoon
use
meeple, but I don't want to accidentally use it. You put it down there. I just thought of that now.
Yeah, that's totally
But
useful.
I mean, we would get them and then immediately use them.
If, by the way, these are absolutely gorgeous. These came in the deluxe edition, and these are fantastic. I love these player boards. These are gorgeous. Okay, any other negatives you had to draw on? Because I don't have any.
I can't think of anything really.
Yeah, so
the only thing, it was more of just the building stack was like so big and it was literally like a divider between us and it was like there's stuff on either side of it and it was just what? Oh, and I don't like that double-sided tile that you can tell where it is in the stack.
But that's in the base. That's in the base game.
Okay.
There's nothing to do with the expansion.
Okay, I don't know.
Okay. All right.
Why is it?
Okay. Are you are you done?
Yes.
Okay. Positives. Because we have a lot more I had no negatives, and we have a lot more positives, I'm sure, because we were both very positive on this expansion.
I like the little recess stuff on the board.
You like the player boards?
Yes.
Okay, the player boards are really awesome. The next positive I want to talk about is the fact that the expansion allows you to play up to 6 players. So the regular game only allowed you to play up to 5, and if you had 6 people, you'd have to look for a different game, and this is a great game. In general, the basic game, obviously we had rated it very highly. So if you want to check out how to play the full game, I'm going to put a link up top here so you can go and check out our review and tutorial we had done of Raccoon Tycoon, which fully shows you how to play the game. The game's a lot of fun, and it would stink that if you had 6 people, you'd be like, well, I can't play the game. Now, the main thing here is to add in the ability to play a 6th player, and that is really awesome, adding in the whole new railroad, plus a bunch of new towns, and that is awesome. Lots of people will buy an expansion just to be able to play 6 players, even without any other real content. There are often games will just have a 6th player expansion. Mm-hmm. So that is definitely a big plus. How about you? You got another plus?
Well, I do like the animal meeple and the
Tycoon
meeples.
As an alternate scoring method?
Yeah, because like I said before, like you stuck with wheat, and wheat like barely ever moves up the...
Well, and it's never, even when it moves up, it's generally not worth that much. It gives you a nice alternate way to score points with it.
Yeah, so it was nice in the beginning until we ran out of meeples, and then
gotta use the wheat for wheat.
Then you're stuck with the wheat anyway.
But no, I agree with you. I did really like that alternate method for scoring, and also for that matter, I like the fact that there's a ton of buildings, some of which that will some of which that can be used with the Tycoon Meeples or Animal Meeples, like the tenements that you got. And then there's also the other ones that then would allow you to do the Locomotive Meeples or the Housing Meeples as another alternate way of getting points. So it adds variety to the strategies that you can employ to win at Raccoon Tycoon. The ton of new buildings, and there's other new scoring methods also, like the trestle bridge and the tunnel, which are worth points, and if you get them together, they're worth bonus points. Yes, and plus there's a bunch of stuff that gives you bonus points for each town card, as well as bonus points for each railroad.
The governor's mansion.
Well, that's in the regular one, but then there's new ones here. For the town cards, you've got the electric company, the waterworks, and the gas lamps. All give you plus 1 point per town. And then for railroads, the water tower, the railroad depot, and the railroad station each give you 1 point per railroad. So there are more ways to, like, if you're focusing in on getting tons of railroads or focusing in on getting tons of towns, to get bonus points for each one of those. And that is really cool. It gives you more options in your strategies. I would say this game, this expansion, does exactly what an expansion should do for a base game, which is it elevates it, it adds variety, and it makes the game more fun. And I would say this is an expansion where once you start playing with it, I don't think I would ever play Raccoon Tycoon without the expansion now. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know.
Because it doesn't add much complexity, but it adds a lot of fun in. Like, I don't think I would ever pull it back out. Like, I think it's great. I think I would always use it with Raccoon Tycoon.
I wouldn't say always use it. But, like, I'm not opposed to always using it. I don't know. I just...
So you wouldn't say that you would decide to always use it, but if other people want to always use it, you would still... Well, then you're always going to use it, because I always want to use it. So... I
don't know, because I think that with larger players, I think at 2 players, it's probably fine. But with larger players, I think all the added stuff is more likely to come up. And it's too much for me.
I thought it was fine, but okay. Well, then in which case, let me ask you, how many stars out of 10 would you give to the Fat Cat expansion?
8.
So 8 is really good. That's very positive. But basically, 8 is the same score, I believe, that you gave to Raccoon Tycoon. So you're basically saying that it adds more variety, but you think it's different, but not necessarily better than the base game. It's because you're roughly the same points.
I rated on how much I enjoy playing it. And I enjoy playing it the same amount.
Okay, so that's what I said. It's different.
Yeah.
But not necessarily better. That you would say. Now I'm going to disagree. I'm going to say I feel like this thoroughly elevates the base game. So I also had given Raccoon Tycoon an 8 back when we reviewed it. I am now going to give the Fat Cat expansion 9.5 stars out of 10. I think this thoroughly elevates Raccoon Tycoon and makes it a much more enjoyable experience without adding that much complexity to it. And like I say, this is something I would always include. I think this is an auto include. I think if you have Raccoon Tycoon, you have to get the Fat Cat expansion. That's my opinion. So you're a little more like you could get it, but you don't need to get it. You're still quite positive on it. You didn't think it made it worse. You thought it was just as good as the base game, which you quite liked to begin with. So there you go. There is our expansion. There is our review of the Fat Cat expansion to Raccoon Tycoon. So if you enjoyed watching us review this board game expansion, you'd like to see us do more like it, be sure to give it a like, share it on all forms of social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And down below in the description, there are links to BoardGameCaptain.com, which is a great hub for all things Board Game Captain, as well as if you're in a position to and like to help out the channel, there are links to my Patreon, and also a link to my Teespring store where you can get yourself some cool gamer gear, t-shirts, mugs, etc. And until next time, game on. Puppy blooper. My goodness, puppy blooper. Yes. Oh, we're having some puppy bloopers. Let's get a little of your excitement out, and then you're going to have to get down on the floor so we can finish our video, okay? Okay. And we'll play with you afterwards. I'll throw your ball around for you. Bet you would like that. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about in regard to positives is the ability to play a 6th player. Because plenty of times you might have 6 people looking to play a game, and then in a game that only plays up to 5 players, that can be... Okay. So the next positive I want to talk about is the fact that this game... Are you okay?
He just starts whenever you
I
start
know.
talking.
Get it out. It's okay. Are you ready?